It's exciting having you join us today. This is Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. I am Henry Igwebike. We'll be starting off today with our newspaper headlines to see all that we have for you. And right after that will be our main conversation also for today. But please do well to be part of our community. Have a say in what we say. You can always reach us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. We're so honored to have Kenneth Ikenwa. He is an educator and also a public affairs analyst. Good morning to you, sir, and welcome to Enterprise Morning today.
Good morning, Harry. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so very much. All right, let's start off today with what we have coming from the Vanguard newspaper. And on the very top strip here, we have CBN vows to tackle buying, selling of Naira notes. That's on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. How will that go? The question is it ever possible for the CBN to tackle the buying and selling of Naira notes, especially when we have celebrities, of course, who are, of course, doing what they know how to do best with our Naira notes? It's a big problem. We do not know if that's possible to solve. But Kenneth, let's get into this particular matter here. Politicians disagree on why opposition is crumbling. Do you think this is we are moving towards what we see today in North Korea and Russia with Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin, where they have a one-party system and opposition is unnoticeable at all? Are we going towards that route right now in Nigeria?
All right. Let's start with the issue that borders on the opposition crumbling in Nigeria before we come to the buying and selling of the Naira.
Yes.
I'm a student of political history, Nigeria's political history to be specific and in particular. And I know that right from when we started democratic politics as far back as 1922, when we were given the privilege to start congregating together into different parties, we had the Nigerian Democratic Movement, we had the Herbert Macaulay's, and then the upcoming Nnamdi Azikiwe's and Awolowo's came in and joined the fray. Nigeria has always been a multi-party system. And when we experimented with the two-party system under the General Ibrahim Babangida regime, an experimentation period, it actually failed. Even though it was said to have produced one of the freest and best elections in the history of Nigeria, the June 12 elections, it did not work. I think that we must be very careful with the way politicians actually drive certain narratives in this country. Because you will find out that some of these narratives are behind, some of these narratives are undertones of selfish ambitions, vaulting ambitions and avarice. They speak for themselves when they are not in power. I'm not a card-carrying member of any political party, and I am for now apolitical so that I can remain righteous and undivided in my analysis as a public affairs analyst. So no politician or no one political party can tie me down to say I'm speaking for them or speaking against them. I speak truth to power, and I speak the truth that will liberate the Nigerian people and move Nigeria forward. Opposition is weakening because we do not really have the kind of structure that is needed for sustainable democracy in this country. And what is that structure? We have a structure where our politics is overly monetized rather than ideationalized. We do not have a system where people come into elections and people contest elections on the basis of the contest of ideas. No, it is actually on the basis of the contest of who has the biggest pockets and who can actually pay the biggest price. And I stand to be corrected, and I stand to be sued for that. Okay? So until we get that right, until we get that aspect of our political culture right, where people are, for all we can care, for the last elections, some individuals refuse to come out to even embark on a debate, to tell us, what is your manifesto? Debate with other flag bearers of the party at whatever level, and some decided not to. They sent representatives, but they went abroad and were giving and granting interviews abroad. What are we talking about here? So it's not a question of opposition. It's a question of people not even having any sense of integrity. So we have politicians that are who actually from their mother's wombs are members of the political party called AGIP. And what is AGIP? Any government in power. So we must begin to look at a situation where the self-styled democracy of America that we say we have copied the presidential system should be adhered to. People should not be given the liberty to cross. We call it red carpet crossing from one political party to the other. So as we stand now, many people have left their initial political parties and crossed over to the party in power. When the party in power is voted out, if they will be voted out, they will still cross back and say, oh, it was a mistake. They were misled. These are the issues. The core issue is not that political opposition is crumbling in Nigeria. The core issue with Nigerian politics is that we lack political ideology. But once we can begin to play politics on the basis of ideology, on the basis of ideas, on the basis of innovation, we will not be crying foul that we are becoming a one-party state. Nigeria will never become a one-party state. Nigeria needs to become a state where we allow for ideology, for ideas, and for innovation to hold sway and to determine who we send to political offices to change the lives of Nigerian people and to protect us with the guidance of the Nigerian Constitution and also with common sense.
Yeah, but do you think it's too much power when a president emerges from a political party and he is said to be the leader of the party? Because he is not supposed to be bigger than the party. He should morph into the party and not the party morphing into whatever decisions that he has. Do you think it's too much power having the president become the leader of a party in Nigeria?
Democracy is not indigent to Nigeria. It is not acculturated to Nigeria. It was embraced and copied by Nigeria and foisted on Nigeria. And the version of democracy we practice now was actually, copied from the American system. Every presidential flag bearer of any party, anywhere in the world, even in Britain that colonized us, is usually seen as the leader of that party, the leader in thought, the leader of political thought, the leader of economic thought, the leader of social thought, and supposedly the leader in moral thoughts, the leader in philosophical thoughts. So asking the question whether it is too much power for the presidential candidate or for the presidential candidate that wins the election to be seen as leader of the party, you are the key chief ambassador of your party and you must give direction to that party. The question is, do you have the competence?
But don't you think? But don't you think that's the reason the opposition are often muffled? Because when you have a president as the leader of a party, he does everything possible to muzzle out every other opposition, like what we see today with the APC, of course, drawing every other opposition to their own side. Don't you think that is the reason?
The APC, I don't speak for the APC, I don't speak for the PDP, I don't speak for the Labour Party. The APC did what they needed to do, however they did it, and they won the election. Those who have carpet crossed or cross-carpeted from their existing parties where they were members for about 20 years, where they were members for almost 15 years, should come and explain to the Nigerian public why they do not have enough patience, enough ideology to stay back in their parties. Now, we have a lot of opposition leaders in Nigeria today, and a major one has been a member of the APC or the Action Congress at one point in time or the other. Can we explain the reason for that ideological deficit? So it's a question of people playing in the direction of their stomachs and their ambition and not playing in the direction of political philosophy, political, ideology and political innovation. No, there's nothing innovative about what Nigerian politicians do. They play in the direction of how best and what best they can possibly do to keep themselves politically relevant. So the major currency that runs the Nigerian political system is not even the currency of corruption, it's the currency of relevance. Everybody wants to remain relevant. Everybody wants to be seen to be a godfather. Everybody wants to still be active in their state's politics, in their local government politics, even after the constitution has said, your time is up. So until we put in place the appropriate pegs and plugs to ensure that we have a system that runs on checks and balances, where the judiciary is free, where the legislative arm is free, where the executive arm knows its boundaries, where the executive arm does not tie the legislative arm to the jugular because they have the key to the treasury, where the judiciary is free because they are well paid and they cannot be muzzled or terminated at the will by political appointees. If these checks and balances are there, if this political ideology currency is there, we won't be even having too much of this discussion. We'll be thinking of, people coming on board to actually constructively criticize the policies that they think are not in the best interest of the Nigerian people, not policies that they think they think are not good because they could have done better. Yes. It's not about who could have done better. It's about you actually, proffering solutions, proffering ideas, and having a contest of ideas, a contest of, proper, effective strategic imagination to say, we could have done this otherwise, you could have done this otherwise, you could check this, or you are doing this in the excess, this is what you ought to do. One thing interests me about British politics. Every Wednesday, you have the Prime Minister's Wednesday, where the Prime Minister is invited, I think on Wednesdays, if I'm not mistaken, to come and give a briefing to the House. And the opposition sits on this side of the aisle, and the Prime Minister and his party sits on the side of the aisle. And they begin to ask Prime Minister questions, and he begins to defend his policies and defend his actions. When will we have that in Nigeria? At whatever level? When? So there is a lot that is not right with our politics. There is a lot that's not right with our political structure. And until we demonetize Nigerian politics and we bring ourselves back to what we possibly had in the 60s and in the 70s, in the time of Zik, we had the Zikist movement, we had the Awoist movement, and some people today will pride themselves as product of Awo, product of Zik. But the Zik and Awo, did they play politics the way these people are playing politics? We need to ask ourselves the question. We read the book. Some of us were not born then, but we read history. We saw history. I was alive when Zik died. I was alive when Olowo died. And we still read about these people.
All right. So
there must be a dramatic shift, a dramatic paradigm shift. And it must start from, like I've always said, you say I'm an educator, a lecturer, fine. It must start from the curriculum. We can't have people become a member of one political party today, and because that party is voted out of power, you go and join the one that is in power. What kind of politics is that? What kind of political prostitution is that? The day I become a card-carrying member of a particular party, I hope, ceteris paribus, that I will remain there until my dream for Nigeria is vetted, is born, and is fixated.
Very, very well said. It's just like just one Bode George actually, is cited as just one politician that has been with the PDP for ages and hasn't moved from one party to another. But how well he's doing in that party is another issue. But let's quickly just look at what's happening with the Punch newspaper for today. Tinubu promises fairness as Ogoni oil exploration plan resumes. Of course, yesterday he had the parley with all stakeholders of Ogoni region in Abuja. And of course, the talk about resuming exploration plan in that particular region. How far do you think this can go? Is it possible for Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who understands politics more than any other person, do you think he can pull off this?
Well, the popular mantra is that where there is a will, there definitely will be a way. But I have always said that it's not possible to treat every individual within your circle of influence equally, but you can strive as much as possible to treat them with some of the highest degree of equity. We can be equitable to all and sundry, but we can't, give that equal measure of attention to them, because as humans, there will definitely be, these biases. There will definitely be some things that pull us back and that push us forward in some directions that we don't actually want to go to. Now, the only question is a very big question, and it reminds me of those that were slain and unjustly killed, I think, by the Abacha regime for protesting for the decimation of their land, degradation of their land, and the devastation of their land. But I think before we start talking about the exploration, we should ask the question, have those places been properly cleaned up? And what policies are being put in place to ensure that exploration anywhere in Nigeria, beginning from 2025, puts the interest of the people as a core stakeholder and the interest of the environment as a second core stakeholder first? I want to see an argument that puts that at the front burner. That, look, the people will be well taken care of, and most importantly, the environment that these people were born into, that these people will die in, be buried in, and leave behind and bequeath to unborn generations will be well taken care of. I always make a comparison with countries in the Gulf, the Saudi Arabia, the Oman, the Qatar, the Bahrain. All these countries have oil. But I have not heard of any since I first traveled to Dubai in 2009, and since I've been following, the UAE and these Gulf states. I have not heard of any area, any of those countries where the ecology, the environment have been so degraded and devastated like it has been the case in the Niger Delta.
And what do you think is the problem with the Niger Delta?
Sorry?
And what do you think is the problem with us right here in the Niger Delta?
Complacency and conspiracy. There's complacency on the part of the elders of the Niger Delta, on the part of the people, docility, where poverty has been weaponized. They have become voiceless. And there is collaboration. You see, things can't go wrong if people don't collaborate with people to actually make things go wrong. All right? So there's complacency on the part of the government too. And the fact that we are focused too much on oil in this country has compounded the problem of the Niger Delta. If oil was not the mainstay of our economy, we may not be having the kind of problem we're having today. And so this brings us again to the issue of equity and to the issue of the current tax reform bill, which focuses on the fact that the states that produce a particular amount of capital should be entitled to that capital in the sharing formula when it comes to the value added tax. So you begin to focus on a particular region, on a particular state, on a particular segment or sector of Nigerian territory. There are other states where minerals are being mined, are being explored, and the federal government has a blind eye to those states. What is happening to the proceeds from those states? And I'm taking the discussion beyond, where we brought it to, but it still boils down to: are we treating everybody in Nigeria equitably? And are we being fair to the people of the Niger Delta? So coming to promise me and coming to promise us that there will be fairness, that argument does not sit tight within my trousers. It's not a belt that can stop my trousers from falling. What I expect to hear is that the people will be well taken care of. The environment never again will be degraded or devastated or destroyed as it has been. And then we have exploration on the basis of sustainability, so that the environment and the future of the people and the future of the community can be preserved for generations that are yet to be born. I think that should be the direction we should be going, and that should be the message we should be telling the explorers and the oil companies, both the local and the foreign ones that are coming into Nigeria or that are operating in Nigeria. And this message should be backed up by punitive laws where they fall short of what is expected. The people first, the environment next, and the future should be core mantra of exploration in our country today.
Very well said. The punitive measures, the people first, the environment next. We can't overstate some of those things, and they are very so important. Thank you so very much, Mr. Kenneth Ikenwa, for being part of our show today. We truly do appreciate you.
Always my pleasure.
Thank you, as always. And just to let you know, he'll be here to take us on our main conversation. And when we return, Trump moves to end birthright citizenship with new executive orders. That in a beat. Still Enterprise Morning. Please don't go anywhere.